This is the X gantry for Bambu X1C and P1S and P1P. We have carbon rods and our X carriage that carries our extruder. Now, if you are like me and you print a lot of ABS, I would imagine that you've had to replace this several times, because what happens, these carbon rods get all gummed up with residue from ABS and ASA, and then the whole thing gets sticky and you suddenly get a whole bunch of VFA, like striations along any X and X moves. So if, like me, you find that the print quality of your P1S, X1C or P1P, although to be honest it doesn't actually affect the P1P that much because it's open, and so you're probably not going to be printing much in the way of ABS, but certainly the other two, if you're having print quality issues with it, replacing this is certainly the way that I fixed it in the past. However, I have got bored with replacing this. Now, this here is the X gantry for the new P2S. Notice the difference. We have gone back to steel rods with, I assume they're steel, but with plain bearings. Now, why have they done that? Is it cost, or is it due to the amount of issues that there's been with this? I personally think it's due to issues with this. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking that looks very, very similar, yeah, you'd be right. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our X1C apart. We're going to take, this is an old one that I've replaced many times. We're going to take this piece out and we're going to fit this. What you're going to need to do this is you're going to have to buy one of these X gantries. You're also going to want to replace your belts while you're in there, because hey, you might as well, and it's a heck of a lot easier to get these belt clips out with this piece off the printer. So what I tend to do is cut the belts, take this piece off, fit the thing to here, and then attach the belts once we're back on the printer. And the belts, they're only a couple of quid, so it's worth doing. But just to demonstrate what the issue is, I'm tilting this up at about 45 degrees. Absolutely gummed up solid, and it doesn't matter how many times you clean this, it's due to muck inside the bearings which slide, and now those bearings are not serviceable and you can't get them out. So yeah, not good. Let's look at this steel one. Oh look, lovely. Right, let's start disassembly of our X1 carbon. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of anything that's heavy and is going to impede our progress. So glass panel, off it comes. Bed sheet, take that out. Disconnect the reverse Bowden tube that's into the head. This one I replaced the carbon rods on not that long ago, and it's actually not that bad. Let's take the head off. So pop that out the way. The next thing I like to do is take the front door off. We have 4 screws. Take the bottom ones off first and leave it shut while you do it, and then it won't fall off. Now be careful when you take these last 2 out that the glass does not fall out and smash on the floor, because that's going to really ruin your day. And then holding the glass, just pull the door and the whole thing should just come straight off. You can place that somewhere safe. The next thing I want to do is take this back panel off. So first thing is take off the AMS buffer. That's 2 screws, 2, and the AMS buffer will just come off. You can unplug it here and then pull the cable out like that and place that to one side. Then we're going to undo all of these screws on the back. So there should be a fairly large number of them. Just pop them to one side once you've got them off. My X1 carbon is missing a couple, I believe. Yeah, there you go, it's missing that one. Now, this X1 that I'm taking to pieces here was an original Kickstarter X1. Now, I know that they've changed the design slightly on the X1, so don't take this as read exactly where all the screws are. I know the guide on Bambu Lab, it tends to focus on the retail ones, and it missed a number of screws that mine had, which were sort of here and here, which I ended up having to actually cut off because there was no way to get at them without disassembling the entire machine. So just be aware, if I miss a screw in this guide, please follow the Bambu wiki as best you can. That will give you a very good view as to what it is that we're doing. Oops, forgot to. Poop chute ones. Let's pop them out. Good, there we go. Put that to one side. There we go. Back piece is off. Now, my X1C looks a little bit different on account of the fact that I replaced my MCU fan with this quiet Noctua item. My MCU fan failed very early on and it was very difficult to get parts. This is dead silent. So now we've got the back off. Belt tension screws, loosen them. That's it. So take these screws out here on the runner for this is like the tension block. Careful, this may go flying. It has a fairly sizable spring behind it. Mine's been fine. Right, and then what you can do once you've done that is pop that out. Let's just get your nail behind and flip it up at the back, and then the whole mechanism can just pop out. And then we've got that out, we can take our spring and place it to one side, and that gives us nice loose belts, although to be honest it's probably a good idea to we'll leave those in for now. We want to do the same on the other side, so loosen the belt screws. There we go, heard the spring tongue, and then pull out the screws for the tension block. And again, same as before, nail behind, pull it, and be careful, this is a fairly powerful spring, and pop it off. We should now have fairly loose belts, and we do. The next thing we're going to do is get these side panels off. So screws, wrong driver. By the way, it's a good idea while you're in here to clean any muck out from, it gives you access to one of your Z rods, which is quite difficult to get to. So it's a good idea to clean this lead screw and clean this bearing and oil it while you're in here. There's a lot of screws in this machine. Now, to be fair to Bambu, the later models are easier to take to pieces, and certainly looking at my H2C and the H2D I had before it, the newer machines look to be a heck of a lot easier to to pieces. It looks like they've learned. Now that's not to say the X1C and the P1S aren't serviceable. They absolutely are. You just have an awful lot of screws that you need to deal with. So we need to remove the connector for the auxiliary part cooling fan. Yours of course won't look like this as before. My one this bit just pops off. Aux cooling fan connector is this one next to these three capacitors. It'll probably be sort of cable tied up round here on yours. I left it loose because I have been replacing the XY gantry quite a lot. So reach in there and pull that out. Right, once all the ones out the back are out, what we want to do is flip the machine onto its back because there's some screws underneath that we need to get to. So we've got the machine on its back. Now the screws we want to get to are here, here, here and here, and they're into the side. If I just zoom that in, there they are. We want to get our screwdriver into the back and just undo those. It's a good idea to have a really tight fitting screwdriver for this, so that when you pull it out, it actually pulls the screw out with it. And while you've got this up on the bench like this, it's a good idea to inspect your Z belts and just make sure that they're free of damage, nice and tight. The tension mechanism probably needs adjusting, and the way that we do that, this is the tension mechanism, and we can fix the tension of this just by loosening this screw here and then tighten it back up again. And that's your Z belt in tension. Take the other two screws out of the side, and that's everything off the bottom now. Once we're up at the front, there are a number of screws that are kind of hidden. They are here in the door, another one down here, and the same on the other side. So we just need to get in there with a screwdriver and just undo them. So they're kind of at an angle. And you just pop your screwdriver in, and if you can get them to come out, great. I sometimes just leave them there because they tend to just sort of stick on this rubber stuff. There we go. And that's that out. Oh, there we go. That one came out. Is this one going to come out now? There we go. And the same on this side. There's the other. You saw this drop. That is because there are a number of screws which live under this panel here, which I haven't put back in when I put it back together again the last time, but I will show you how to get to them. This panel should just unclip. There we go. And then that piece can just be taken off. Now, inside here are a couple of screws. There's one here, there's one at the back, and one at the front. You can loosen those, and then you can take the left side panel off. Be careful, because you have your part cooling auxiliary fan, is it called, which can get in the way. I sometimes find it's best to sort of just lift the X1C up a little bit and then drop it down. And then working on the top of the machine again, we want to take these screws out. There should be 3 of them. Like I say, quite a X1Cs, they all tend to be a bit different in terms of the number of screws they've got. Some have screws here on both sides, but mine does not. And we can take off the other side panel. So now's a good time to cut our belts. So take some side cutters. Now don't pull the belts off. We're going to use them. We're going to cut the belt there, there, and the same on the other side. 1, 2. And for now, just leave them hanging like that, because we're going to use these belts to thread our new belts through. You did buy new belts, didn't you? So now we should have a very free moving gantry, which we need to take off. So around the side we have the plates that hold the gantry on. They are, I think, 1mm. Yeah. So unscrew these 4. And then once we've done that, our plate should just come off the side. There we go. Now we do the same on the other side. Just undo this plate. So now we've got our side pieces off, we can take our X gantry and just rotate it. You see what I did there? Put one hand there, and we just rotate. And then we're going to pull our belts. Don't pull them all the way out. We just want to release the gantry. And our gantry is now free. Now, we're going to flip it around because we need to work on it slightly, because we need to take all of this electronics out. First thing we do, this is a USB-C connector and it's connected like that. So just press on the side like that and it will come off like that. And then once we've done that, you should be able to, if you take this piece here and rotate it round, it'll come there. Now if you can see, I'll zoom in on it, if you can see there's a little groove that runs down the side. Now when it's rotated like this, that means you can now take this cable and the whole thing can just come out like that. And then you can just unclip your cable chain and there we go. And there we go. The entire gantry is free. So the next thing we're going to do is go and work on the gantry on the bench. So find a clear space on your bench or take your X1C and put it on the floor, and then we're going to work on this. So the first thing we want to do is take the extruder assembly apart, get the nozzle off, wrong screwdriver. So down in here, same as a normal nozzle change procedure, just undo the 2 screws, take them out. Then we need to unplug all of this. So the heater, the mister, oh sorry, no, this one's the heater. The first one I did was the fan. And we can unplug the extruder at the sensor at the same time. And then we can just pull our hot end assembly off the machine. So next, working on the extruder again, we need to undo this screw here. That will enable us, we don't have to pull it all the way out, we just have to unscrew it enough to enable the cutter head to move, which is about there. And now the cutter head is out of the way. We now need to undo this screw, and this screw. That will release our extruder assembly. Let's undo that one. And the whole extruder assembly comes off. It really is an amazing piece of miniaturized design, this. I love it. We can take that off. It's a good idea to, while you've got this apart, have a good look in here. You'll see that my extruder gears are looking a little bit worse for wear. You can replace this entire unit or you can clean these gears up, but if you've been printing a lot of abrasives like carbon fiber filaments, this may be worn, so give it a good inspect before you put it back together again. The next thing we need to do is get this LiDAR off. If you have a P1P or a P1S, you won't have this, of course. This is a X1C only, and there are 2 screws in the bottom. We'll just undo. And then the LiDAR assembly should just pop off. Be careful with these electrical connectors here. They are quite fragile. By the way, I missed a step here. I forgot to talk about taking the back off this, but it's quite simple. There are 4 screws either side of the extruder head. You just undo those. Next piece, the shroud needs to come off completely. So the screws for the shroud are to the side, there and there. Just get in there with a screwdriver and unscrew those. And then once you've done that, this entire shroud piece should just pop off. Just undo it there. It just sort of lifts off to the top. There we go. And then just put that to one side. We don't need to take this piece off because this will translate with this piece when we move it. We do not need to undo these screws either. They will go along with it, but what we do need to do is undo this circuit board here. And there are 2 screws. Undo that. And then this assembly, you can move it off to the top. Now if we have a look in the top, we'll see that there are clips for these cables. Just sort of work them out of these clips like that. There we go. And that one. For our part cooling fan, you can try and pull it past the clips, but it can be a bit tight. So I actually find the best way to do this is just unplug it. And if we unplug it at the back, what we can then do is push it up where these wires are thinner, and then we can just pop it out like that. There we go. And put that to one side. We need that. Working on the back of the extruder assembly again, we're going to unscrew all of the screws that hold the circuit board in place. So that is this one, and this one. Once we've done that, your circuit board assembly and everything on it should be free as one unit. The only thing we need to do is unplug the extruder stepper. So just grab that. It's probably better to do this before you unplugged all of the, took all of the screws out, but that's fine. And then that just pops off out the side. And then we can take this entire assembly, just take that off and place it to one side. This is much easier than taking it all to bits. So, first thing we need to do is take this piece off here and attach it to here. So we've got a bunch of screws here that need to come out. 4 around the stepper. And then another 4 around the, I suppose it's the extruder mount assembly, isn't it? So we'll take these out. Now, once you've taken these screws out, you want to flip it upside down from the orientation that we're in now. because there are some little metal springs in here which we don't want to go flying all over the place. So let's just turn it around, and then we can just, there we go. So you should have this like this with no springs or anything in it. And then we can take this off here and we can throw it away. You see those little springs? That's why we had to flip it upside down, because otherwise they're going to go absolutely everywhere. So now we've got that off there, let's just take these springs out and put them to one side just for a minute. We're going to use them again in a second. The kit for this actually comes with new springs anyway. Here, as you can see, I'm going to use the ones that came with my X1C rather than those. But while we've got this piece, it's worth having a look at these. These are the mounts for the belts, and they are horrible to get apart. Now, these I've already taken a couple of the screws out here, but it's a good idea to get the belts off while we have this off the machine. I mean, putting them on is tricky enough. Getting them off is really, really horrible. So these, I think, are 1 mil. Take them off. Those screws, right, we don't want to lose them. Pop them there. And there's 2 more on this side, which I've already taken out. Then once we've got those out, we need to lever this little block out of here and slide the whole shebang off up the top. Now imagine what that's like trying to do it on the printer. I remember the first time I did this and I followed Bambu's instructions of trying to undo these on the printer, and after about an hour of messing about with it, I just went, right, I've had enough, and I just cut the belts, and then discovered it was much, much easier to do off the machine. Come around this way like that and do it like that if you want. And then just pop the things out and pull it. All right, I took the last 2 off camera because, and as you can see, I have spiked my knuckle. Once we've got those off, we can now fit this to our P2S gantry. It's really important to get this the right way round so that the belts are able to do their path that they need to be able to do on the XY motion system. So what we want to do, place your gantry down like this. So we've got the through holes. You can see that is a through hole. On the left we've got it at the bottom, and on the right we've got it at the top. That's the orientation it's going to be in the printer. If you imagine the y-axis is going down into my table. This piece, the bit with the springs on, needs to go with the spring holes at the top. If you get it the other way round, your X gantry is going to be upside down. So like this. Once we've got that in there, we're happy with the orientation, we can take our springs, place those back in their little holes, like so. And we take our bearings, pop that together like that. There we go. Take the motor assembly and attach that on there like that. Right, now hold it all together with your hands, otherwise the springs are going to go flying, and flip it over again and just hold it down. Now on the spring side you want to just quickly get a screw and just pop it in there. There we go. Right, once we've got that one screw in, you can take your hands off it, and then pop all our other screws in. Should be 8 screws in total. So if you have fewer than 8, you need to go find them again. If you have more than 8, well, I don't know where the other one came from. Screw these down. You don't need to go crazy tightening these up. They're only just sort of snugged up, just enough to stop it from moving. I mean, you can see I'm just using sort of 2 fingers, and when I can't turn it anymore with 2 fingers, that is tight enough. If you go any further, you'll strip the threads, and we don't want to do that. And there is our X gantry assembled, and it'll be this way around in the printer. Here's the cutter lever, as you can see. That goes like that. Extruder assembly goes on here, hot end down there. So double check you've got your holes, your through holes in the correct place. Bottom on the left, top on the right. If not, take this apart, flip it round. But look at that, lovely and smooth, perfect. So we take our newly assembled X gantry with our steel rods. We take our circuit board that we had before, align it the correct way around, get your cables all in the right place. There we go. And we just button it back up again. Don't do these up too tightly. They're only little screws, and you will strip them if you go too tight. Next up, a little bracket that goes over the ribbon connector for the LiDAR. Hands, it's difficult to and we can flip it up. Let's screw our LiDAR in to place. 2 screws for a LiDAR. If you have your LiDAR, of course, you might not. Like I say, this is X1C only. There we go, that's that on. We can now flip it up and slide these cables back into their little crevice where they go. There we go, like that. And at this point, we can also attach our the part cooling fan connector again as well. Try and get it with the little wires under the hooks. Just push it into position like that. Okay, flip it this way up, put this into place. Remember that you have this ground lead needs to go here, so that has a couple of little bosses which it sits in. There we go. And then you can just catch that earth or ground lead, and then we put the final screw in the top, and there we go. Now we can put our extruder assembly back on. This is the way around it goes. Sorry, this is the way round it goes. Keep this cable out the way, and that just pops there like that. We can tighten these screws up. that. Right. We can now plug our extruder in. Our extruder goes here, like so. We take our hot end assembly, place it in position like so, put our screws in, and plug everything back together again. Start with the thermistor, then the fan, and finally the heater. And then take your cutter arm, move it up to here, and screw your, oops, I forgot to put my cutter blade in. Where's my cutter blade gone? There we go. Pop your arm in there like that, and then tighten this up. Again, this one doesn't need to be very tight at all. It's just to prevent the cutter arm. And there's our completed extruder assembly that's now nice and smooth on a P2S gantry. Get your chassis back, take your newly assembled gantry and just put it back into place in exactly the same way that we took it off. So just put the little bearings in their position like so, and then just rotate the gantry into position. And that, just make sure they're centered. That one's not. There we go. Should be nicely centered, like so. And that's it. It needs a little bit of lubrication, but it's very nice. So the next thing we need to do is put the side plates back on. Make sure you have the correct ones. They do say R and L, and it's R as the printer is facing rather than you facing the front of it. So you just and there we go. Check it all moves freely. Focus. Check it all moves freely. The next step is belts. Now we should still have our belts on the printer. We're going to use these to feed our belts through, our new belts, so we don't need to try and mess about trying to get the belts through this assembly business at the back here, which is a bit of a pain. So we take our belts, and if you buy proper Bambu ones, they will come with the little tabs ready assembled. So unroll those, one belt here, the same way round, and we're going to tape them together. So get some tape. I'm going to use just some painter's tape. Now make sure you've got them both tooth side to tooth side. If you have it the other way round, it's not going to feed properly. Just make sure that they don't come apart. And we're going to do the same with the other belt. Again, make sure it's the correct way around. Don't want to put too much tape or you're not going to get it to feed through the XY motion system. So there we go. It's not going anywhere. So we're going to come around to the back side of the machine on our belts, what we're going to do, we're going to just gently feed them through, including our taped bit. Don't yank on this super hard. It doesn't need to be, you know, you don't need to be He-Man with it. We're just feeding it through the assembly. This one can be a bit tricky because, but just help it through, push it with one hand, pull with the other. So you notice how I'm not giving this any kind of, you know, I'm not fighting it. Just give it a little push through and it should just, and then just keep walking it. Just sort of, you can see our tape there. Just sort of help it round. And then we can just take our tape off that one. So here's our belt. And we'll just feed it through like this. Just feed it through like this to here. Don't pull it all the way through. Then we can come inside the machine and just sort of push it through here, help it through like that. There we go. Blue tape's there. Back to the back again. Just sort of help it through here. And through here. So, take this, feed it through, like so. We should have our belts roughly in the right place now. That's the difficult bit done. Now working on the top of the printer, we want to just feed the belts through into the correct place, like so. And we'll just pull that one to there. That one's going to be clipped in at that side. We take the other cable, this is the one that goes through the X gantry. We'll run it through the hole, like so. Give it a pull, like that, and now we're going to send it round this. And there's a little access hole at the side. You can just push it through there, and then you can double it round, and then you can just pull it through like so. There we go. This one needs to go in there and then out along there. And that's that side done. Now we need to do the same on the other side. So pull our belts through. So we'll start with the top one. And the top one is going to just go straight round, like so. Just pull him, leave him there. And the bottom cable goes through the gantry. Make sure you don't get any twists in it. There we go. Goes through the gantry. And then, like the other side, we have the little hole in the side of the machine. We'll just run the belt through there and then back in, like so, and then this this one now just goes through there like that. And that's the belts fed. Now we need to hook the belts onto the X carriage. Now this can be quite tricky. It's best to, what I find is what I want to do is just sort of kink it like that and then hook it down over and then pull it into position. So kink it like that, push it down over, and you might need to push it with, I'm going to use this screwdriver here just to push it down into position. There we go, like that. And then give it a good yank just to get it into its position. And that's one done. And we do the other one. Same deal. Give it a little pull. Same deal. Give it a little hook like that. Hook it up and pull it into position like that. That one is now in position on that side. Now we need to do the other side. Let's start with the bottom. And this is going to be a little bit tricky on account of the fact that we don't have much room to play with. You might have to stretch the belt slightly. And I can't see what I'm doing because I've got cameras everywhere. Bit tricky to get the angle on this one. Come on. And that is the hardest bit. Now we can plug our extruder electronics in. So remember about the little hooky thing. That's it, just line it up so that you've got the gap, and you can see the gap quite happily. And then just push your cable in like so, like that. Clip the cable chain back in. There we go. And plug the little USB-C back in. Check your movement. All looks good. Take our rear panel. And it just clips on there like that. And then we pop the little silver screws in at the sides. Sorry, this is quite difficult to film and do. Now we take our front shroud. You see I've done something in the wrong order. I had to make one mistake, didn't I? This needs to be off. That was violent. There we go. Now we put this on. Like that and that. There we go. Like that. And then we got 4 screws to put in. One just above the LiDAR. Then we can go back and get this in its proper orientation. Careful with that blade because it is very, very sharp. And then just pop that in like that. There we go. Front panel, like so. Bowden in the top, front panel on. That is all the difficult bits done. Now it's just a matter of reassembly. Now we want to put our spring auto tensioners in, so pop your spring on like so, and then the spring goes on the little spigot there, and then we just push it into position. Careful it doesn't go flying across the bench. And there's the other. Same on the other side. These are not handed, so either one can go in either side. Clips in there, like that. A couple of screws to hold it in place. Check your motion system's still working, and it is. Side panels. So we'll start with the right hand panel. Remember, this is the one with the part fan. So just sort of offer it up into position like this. Get your cable through. It's roughly the right place. Take your cable and feed it through. There's a little hole for it around here. If I can find it. Pull it through and plug him into the position that he goes, which is next to the 3 capacitors. Now this step you won't need to do. I do, because I have a alternative part cooling fan. So not part cooling fan, MCU fan. Like so. There we go. That's my old MCU fan. I can now start screwing our side panel back on. And the other side panel. We can put our back panel back on. Back around the front, we have our front panel screws that need to go on, which are a bit tricky. And the ones in the top. We flip it over and we do the ones on the bottom. Put your plastic bracket back. Just put the front door back on. Put your rubber grommets in. Before we tighten the belts up, I like to just oil the axes slightly. So just a light amount of light machine oil is all you need. Run your hot end round. Just get that machine oil on everything. Now around the back again. It's important to run all the axes to get the spring tensioners in the correct place. Now they should be in their correct place. What you want to do is place your gantry dead center and then snug up these. And that's that. Then we want to put our filament buffer on. Take our coupler, put that in, plug that in, build plate, and top cover. There we go. One X1C X gantry replaced with a P2S metal rod gantry. Let's plug it back in again and check it works. There we go. Let's check it homes. Excellent. So, all good. And hopefully I won't have to do this job again. Anyway, so there we go. X gantry swapped with P2S X gantry. Hopefully I won't have to do this again now. Anyway, I hope this was useful. If anyone else is thinking about doing this, let me know in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe, because I release this kind of content on a fairly regular basis. And I'll see you in the next one.